End times and the second coming, and stereotypes of it. Behold, I'm coming like a thief. Blessed is the one who stays awake and alert. This is what is repeatedly said in the Holy Bible, and especially the book of John, Revelation, the Apocalypse. For many years, the thought of terrible and catastrophic upheavals invariably associated with the expectation of the second coming of Christ, the judgment day, into the world, settled in many people's minds. This is mainly facilitated by the reading of all the passages, predominantly in the Synoptic Gospels. Apostle John, the beloved apostle, the disciple of Christ, passes over this topic in silence, only directly mentioning it in words, I will not leave you orphans, I will come to you, John 14:18, and others like this. Many of us, having uneasy minds and the ardor of a discoverer, begin to scrupulously count the number of earthquakes, hurricanes, floods, and other man-made natural disasters. The peak of interest in the statistics of tragic and terrifying cataclysms came in the mid-1990s, when some even seriously questioned the meaning of studying, working, and moving on in this life. Sooner or later, a large majority of these people realize that there is a need to work, read, and study material, build and repair, do many other things, which, however, the life of an ordinary person consists of, and it was at that time that the excitement of expectations began to subside. Faith in the Advent has not disappeared to this day, but it has acquired more sound forms than before, passion subsiding and gave way to calm reasoning, where the event itself, the date which is known only to God, when the judgment day will be coming, the second coming, turned into a subject of deep reflection and study and expectation. The words of Jesus Christ show that wars, earthquakes, epidemics, natural disasters, even celestial disasters, are not the goal of intimidation, and even more so, should not be the center of attention. Jesus himself said that all these things must be, and this is the beginning of diseases. Attention is inevitably drawn to other aspects of the expectation of the coming, and the signs that Christ emphasized, and which are invariably lost against the background of more grandiose and striking ones, such as fires, tsunamis, epidemics, and wars, etc. Christ apparently did not want to oppress us, although he warned of the onset of these. His main goal apparently is to remind us of the danger of lost interest, plunge headlong into the solving of earthly problems, being carried away by acquisitions, construction, endless repairs, and relevance of the iPhone for the current year, instead of our inner kingdom and our salvation. Let's remember, he was repeatedly telling us from the Old Testament to the New that we are his temple and his throne is our hearts, and we are sanctified with him in our hearts. I think it's, I can't remember. I read it just yesterday. Anyway, it's in the New Testament. Now, the idea of the unexpectedness of the Advent could lie precisely in the fact that a person gets used to the daily news and often gets tired of them. Their daily listening and repetition brings alienation, fatigue, even fear, and the desire to concentrate on other more pleasant aspects of life. All the more there are plenty of prerequisites for this. The main stereotype of the second coming can be called the fear and expectation of disasters, and reading the book of Revelation fuels this fear and increases it many times over. What else surprised was the words of Jesus, where he draws a parallel between the times of Noah of the Old Testament and the generation that will live in the immediate vicinity of the coming of Christ. Matthew 24:37-39 writes, But as it was in the days of Noah, so it will be in the coming of the Son of Man. For as in the days of before the flood, they were eating, drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark. They knew nothing about what was happening until the flood came and destroyed them all. It will be the same when the Son of Man comes. So, in other words, there will be too many people that will just not have faith. Now, this is where the main, most dangerous stereotype of expectation lies. It turns out that the coming of Jesus Christ will take those who live on earth by surprise, a reference to the book of Revelation, where this phrase occurs more often than in the rest of the New Testament. Living on earth, they will go about their business, not paying attention to wars, cataclysms, disasters, getting used to them, and with a truly Philistine behavior, aspiring to store discounts, thinking only about home improvements or the mall, or completely forgetting about God, Christ, salvation, redemption, conversion, and the inevitable end. Forgetting about our eternal life in God's kingdom. Now, this text suggests that it will not be so terrible, apparently, on earth, as two exalted preachers portray, paying attention only to the death and another tsunami somewhere in Indonesia, by way one of the most destructive in history. The course of the life cycle, according to Christ, proceeds in line with these cares of the age, accumulation, and the maximum desire for peace and comfort. This plays a fatal role, completely sweeping out of consciousness the thought of God and striving for God and union with God. Christians who know about the coming expect it, but nevertheless they fall asleep, they're not alert, and will be taken by surprise, assuming that it is not soon and not everything has come true yet. In other words, they think that there's still a lot of time left. The set of their assumptions can collapse in one moment, and against the backdrop of well-fed and comfortable life, this set presents a certain danger of oversleeping and wondering why everything did not go according to plan. Now, before I forget, I'm going to put my comment here. When there were many times when we used to go to theological lectures by our spiritual fathers, and at one point, my spiritual father told our group, he says, the second coming of Christ for each person is the day that he passes from this life. So, everybody in union, like the masses, are thinking, oh, it's going to be one second coming and that's it. Well, the second coming for every person, he says, is at the time of his passing, of his death. And then he goes, that's why a lot of us have to have commemorative services after the funeral. The prayers, the commemorative prayers for the deceased is very, very beneficial to their souls. And even philanthropic and charity work on behalf of the deceased soul. All this goes to alleviate their discomfort and brings them higher elevates them towards their salvation in God's kingdom. Now, there are a lot of stereotypes. There are only a handful touched on the surface. Only God knows how many of these remain in the heads of those who are in the agonizing expectation of the next flood or epidemic. In any case, everything may well not be as we expected, and God forbid that our expectations correspond to reality and do not harm the mind, heart, and even more so the faith. So this is from Soul Ask. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box.